And good afternoon, everyone. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. My name is Jim, and this is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog network. This is a directed network, and I am net control. If at any time during this net should any emergency arise, please notify net control, and we'll stand by and allow those in need to access this frequency. Is there any priority or emergency traffic at this time? And hearing nothing, we will continue. This net is all about ham radio and being all that you can be. That's what our Qso-Vlog network is all about, trying to help people achieve the best sounding station possible. Thanks for dropping by. FYI, my background is 50 years in commercial broadcasting, where a lot of big bucks are spent on audio processing equipment and getting it set up correctly to get the best sounding station possible. Well, long story short, when I became a ham radio operator, I could hear immediately a large discrepancy in on-air technical proficiency. A lot of stations were running with very poor mic equalization, very muddy, with little articulation. And as I continued to work stations, I realized most of the stations were also running very low average peak modulation, many around 30% of average peak modulation. So with my background, I felt I could help, or at least try. I knew that most modern-day ham transceivers did have enough onboard processing equipment to be able to overcome most all of the problems. So it would just be a matter of developing a generic dynamic range setup procedure and then adjusting the onboard EQ gear. And so I started the Qso-Vlog network with the phrase, if you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. And today we're currently featuring over 2,500 Qso-Vlog Aircheck recordings. And you can access these recordings by going to YouTube and doing a call letter search for KC9VKV followed by the word logbook. That's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor followed by the word logbook. We also have a new feature called KC9VKV Highlights. That's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor followed by the word highlights on a YouTube search. These are some of our less technical and more human nature philosophical kinds of QSOs. That's KC9VKV Highlights on a YouTube search. Both KC9VKV Logbook and KC9VKV Highlights are segments of our main YouTube homepage of Jim's Radio Story, where we celebrate a 50-year career in commercial broadcasting. And the thing that makes this truly a unique story is that I have the actual audio masters from all along the way. Over 2,600 shows, including many full-length major music concerts and radio documentaries. You'll have to check it out and subscribe. Jim's Radio Story on a YouTube search. Our mission statement for the Qso-Vlog network is to establish a higher technical level of radio transmissions of the human voice by the intelligent utilization of available electronics in current amateur radio transceivers. This substantial boost in audio transmit level is extremely beneficial in high noise levels and heavy QRM. It allows you to punch through when others fail. The second part of our transmitter setup has to do with proper mic equalization. We're looking to optimize the transmitted voice for a higher degree of intelligibility through the use of EQ patterns that bring out the articulation aspects of the human voice. Again, why need to hear the voice if you can't understand the words? Also this afternoon on the receive side, we're running 4 Internet SDR receivers, monitoring New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Virginia, trying to get the best copy from our 100-watt friends. Now the audio from these 4 SDR receivers comes up on a 6-position rotary selector. Also in the selector is a local receiver audio. And today our local receiver is running 3 10-foot vertical magnetic loop antennas, one aimed at 0 degrees, one aimed at 90 degrees, and the number 3 is aimed at 134 degrees. Also today on the transmit side, we'll be running our no SWR, specially oriented, resonant dipole antenna. And as we come together for another Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog network, let us pause just a moment for the amateur radio operator's prayer. Lord, we pray for clear 20 over S9 communications today, that all our transmissions fill the air and reach their destinations QSA5 to be understood by all. And as we pray for good radio conditions, let us also pray for good human conditions. During this time of pandemic that has challenged us all, we pray that you'll protect everyone, especially our elderly. And also, Lord, we seek your divine intervention to bring peace to a very divided United States. As we go through a very conflicting time in America's history, with dark clouds all around, we pray that you'll reduce life's daily political QRM between our brothers and sisters. And through your love and guidance, show us the way to find peace and harmony. Help us to communicate with one another 20 over S9. Thank you, Lord, and God bless and protect America. Amen. To continue, since this part of the band has many nets trying to operate in a very confined area, I would appreciate all stations checking into our Qso-Vlog net to keep their bandpass to no wider than 100 to 2900. And again, please, no wider than 100 to 2900. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog network. And now normally we'd be checking in with Charlie K1GZL up in New Hampshire, but Charlie will not be with us this afternoon. Hopefully he'll join us next Friday. We shall see. This is KC9VKV, and I'm better known sometimes in some circles as Dr. VKV, and we'll be recording now through 5, so if you have any radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We'll post this recording up on YouTube in the next couple of days. So when you go to YouTube, just do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook. That's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, followed by the word logbook. That'll take you to our YouTube Qso-Vlog page, where we're currently featuring over 2,500 Qso-Vlog Aircheck recordings. This recording will be cut number 1 in that series. So without further ado, let's open it up and see what we got. This is KC9VKV. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. We record now live till 5, then post our recording up on YouTube by noon tomorrow, so you can listen to it. So if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout. And this might be a good time for some folks who are running 100-watt transmitters that have not been able to make it in to give us a shout. Things are light this afternoon at the moment, so we are listening. This is KC9VKV. You know, sometimes when things get slow, we have certain things we talk about, and from time to time, another thrilling edition of Adventures in Radioland. This segment, Hasty Decisions 2, subtitled The German Tank Transmitter. From time to time on our Qso-Vlog net, we discuss the downside of hasty decisions. Now, I don't want to minimize the obvious upside to hasty decisions, but the downside can be far more interesting. Hence, let's move along with the tale of the German tank transmitter. It was a hot afternoon in West Palm Beach, Florida. I was a young man, about 20 or so, working in my unair-conditioned shop. The Friday Florida heat was such that the sweat was pouring from my body, and took off my shirt to try and cool down as I wrestled with this 30-pound boat anchor thing on my workbench. It was an old German tank transmitter that I had purchased for $25 at a local Army-Navy surplus store. Well, it obviously came from Rommel and his German Desert Tank Corps, or so I assumed by the amount of dust and sand that covered it. At least that's what I imagined it to be. You know, the Germans lost that war in the desert, perhaps just because of this radio. This was a low-band VHF radio with a frequency range of 20 to 50 megahertz. And sometimes propagation distances, known better as skip, can be outstanding at those frequencies. Too much so for Rommel and his boys in the desert, because their tank transmissions were being copied loud and clear on the other side of the world in Washington, D.C., much to Rommel's chagrin. Well, it had been modified somewhere, and it was now running, it had been running on 12 to 24 volts, but now it was running on 110 volts. It had been modified somewhere. And there was no output as I keyed the menu and the mic, and all the info on the radio was printed in German, so it was not very helpful. But I could almost swear this was Rommel's personal command tank radio. I could almost feel and see his fingerprints in the dust and grime on this radio. But alas, it could not transmit a word, and I wondered why. I had removed the outside cover plates, exposing many beautifully laced cable runs, all covered with a protective aged orange heavy-duty wax. Most of the wiring appeared to be color-coded, but it was still very hard to follow the wiring in the laced bundle, so what to do? I have to open up those laced bundles to get a better look. So I took a pair of small manicure scissors and began cutting the cable lace. It was tough going. The lace was very tight, and the wax was doing all it could to keep the bundle together. Well, I'll just have to try a little harder to get this scissor blade into the bundle so I can cut the lace away to be able to trace the wiring out. So here I am with my thumb and finger through the holes of this small pair of chrome scissors. I had moved over the transmitter to get a better angle. My sweaty chest was laying on the frame, and suddenly everything went red. My body was vibrating violently. I had cut into the high voltage line. When I came to, I was still standing, but now turned away from the transmitter. And why was my body still vibrating? And something else was wrong. I wasn't breathing. Apparently, it had been a perfect storm. My chest on the radio and my fingers through the scissor holes. Meanwhile, back to the not breathing part. I could think about breathing, but that was it. I couldn't breathe. My lungs were paralyzed from the shock. I also knew I had a limited time in that condition before I would pass out, maybe permanently. Then I began pounding myself in the chest with my fist, trying to restore my paralyzed lungs, and then slowly, ever so slowly, I could take little gulps of air. About an hour later, I could breathe. A little, but it hurt. A week later, I had recovered. Now, looking back in retrospect, my hasty decision was to start cutting into that cable bundle without first unplugging the radio and then shorting out the high voltage line. The good side, I had escaped death, barely. Later, much later, I dug a hole and buried that German transmitter, never for it to threaten anyone else's life. This has been another thrilling edition of Adventures in Radioland. Well, there you go. One of my younger capers was a young man that I sometimes sooner forget than not, but I thought it might be important for some of you folks out there to exercise caution, not make hasty decisions when you're working on gear. It could cost you very dearly. Well, anyway, this is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout. I hear station Kilo Golf something. Come back slowly with your call sign again phonetically, please. Slowly with your call sign again phonetically, please. Is that Kilo Golf 9 Juliet Foxtrot? Is that a Roger? Kilo Golf 9 Juliet Foxtrot. Is that a Roger? Juliet Foxtrot, what is your location? I could maybe try one of my SDRs in your area. Where are you located, sir?
SDRs in your area. Where are you located, sir?
Copy, Illinois. And what is the name there?
Copy, Illinois. And what is the name there?
The name here is Martin, Alpha Romeo, Tango India November.
Is that Martin?
Is that Martin?
Yes, that's correct. You got it now.
Alrighty, Martin, and what radio are you running today, sir?
Alrighty, Martin, and what radio are you running today, sir?
Was that a 7530?
Was that a 7530?
It's a 757
Boy, Martin, I wish I had a better copy. You're about half dB. I was copying you up in Pennsylvania, about half dB over the noise level. I went around again trying to find a better copy, but I haven't been. If you come up on that mic and let me hear you say what radio that is you're running. Okay, I'm copying a 75.7. Is that a Roger?
Okay, I'm copying a 75.7. Is that a Roger?
All righty, Martin, if you'd be interested in a setup procedure, do you have a pretty good copy on me?
Interested in a setup procedure? Do you have a pretty good copy on me?
Yes, sir. Well, gosh, I don't have a very good copy on you, unfortunately. But if you can copy me, we could do this setup procedure. That's an older radio. Is that a Roger?
Procedure. That's an older radio. Is that a Roger?
Okay, so it's got a fixed bandwidth transmission, so we don't have to worry about trying to get it in that any bandwidth. It's probably a fixed bandwidth, 2.5 or 2.4, somewhere around in there. So let's just move to the main part of the setup, and that starts with the compressor processor being engaged at a 3 out of 10 or 30 out of 100. We don't want the compressor processor on, but just at a third of its capabilities. Roger?
But just at a third of its capabilities. Roger?
Yes, sir. If you have numbers on that compressor, we're looking for a 3 out of 10 or 30 out of 100. If you don't, we just want normal compression. Just normal compression, Roger.
Normal compression. Just normal compression, Roger.
Roger, still not copying you very well. Let's move on, though. If you've still got a copy on me, let's go to your ALC meter with mic gain in hand. And as you say the magic word, audio, adjust your mic gain until your ALC meter is showing 2/3 deflection. 2/3 deflection on your ALC meter as you say the word audio as you adjust your mic gain. Roger?
Say the word audio as you adjust your mic gain. Roger?
Roger, Roger. All
All right, now does that radio have equalization? Does that radio have tone control capabilities, equalization, Roger?
Radio have tone control capabilities, equalization, Roger.
Let me try that again. Does that radio have equalization capabilities, internal equalization capabilities?
Equalization capabilities, internal equalization capabilities.
Negative, that's negative, it does not.
Alrighty, so what you can do is use acoustic equalization. This is what everybody used to have to do before they had onboard EQ gear, and that is take a step back from your microphone, about 2 inches additional back from where you were, and then reset your ALC level. And the idea is that it's reverse proximity effect. The closer you get, the more bassy you get. So inversely, the further away you get, the brighter you get. The more top end you get. So what we want is to try to maximize our treble end without the capability of electronic equalization. So if you were to run that mic about 2 inches further back than what you normally would do, that would brighten you up some, but you would need to go back and do the audio set level thing on your ALC to make up the difference from where you're working to, like 2 inches or so back from where you were.
Like 2 inches or so back from where you were.
Deflecting the ALC meter, over.
Hey, I got a pretty good copy on you now in Georgia. Repeat your last.
Hey, I got a pretty good copy on you now in Georgia. Repeat your last.
I said right now, the ALC meter is just barely deflecting on voice, over.
Well, it's what you need to do is keep turning your mic up until your ALC meter comes up to 2/3. Roger, Roger.
Your ALC meter comes up to 2/3. Roger, Roger.
Alrighty, I'll do that. I'll turn it up. Okay. Well, it deflects quite a bit after just turning the knob there, over.
Yes, sir. Now, be looking at your ALC meter. We want it to be reading 2/3 as you say the magic word audio, Roger. And you use your mic gain to adjust the intensity of the signal on your ALC meter as you say the word audio, Roger.
The signal on your ALC meter as you say the word audio, Roger.
Roger, audio. That's about audio. How's that, over?
Yes, sir. You came up drastically. I can copy you very well now. Before you were in the mud. Now it's like you got about 300% louder, Roger.
It's like you got about 300% louder, Roger.
Roger. Well, you have just gone down considerably. I can barely read you now, over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, just imagine what you're going to sound like to me when our signals get good. Usually, it's amazing how the signals usually follow the same path. When I come up to you, you would normally come up to me, and vice versa. But hang on just a second. Let me. Okay, had to take care of a little business there. But, not always do we run in the same path. Roger, Roger?
But, not always do we run in the same path. Roger, Roger?
I've lost you in the noise. I've just totally lost you in the noise there. So I'll stand by just to see if the signal comes back, over.
Yes, sir. Well, it's apparently coming and going this afternoon, and so you never know about Mother Nature. She usually comes around, but it takes a while to persuade her. We have to kind of excite the electrons a little bit to tickle her fancy, so she decides to propagate in a proper manner, so to speak. And Martin, you are sounding very good versus where we were when we started. So, gosh, I think we've have done a good job. What part of Illinois are you in?
Done a good job. What part of Illinois are you in?
Yeah, Martin, you seem to have faded out now. I guess I faded out to you. Is that a Roger?
Seem to have faded out now. I guess I faded out to you. Is that a Roger?
So I'm going to stand by. I'm going to stand by. There's also someone else. I have totally lost you in the noise. So I'll stand by with that. This is KC9VKV.
Roger, Martin. Well, if you've got any kind of coffee on me at all, I am recording now, and I'll be uploading this to YouTube by noon tomorrow. And so if you want to hear your audio, or it's not the best in the world because propagation is not good, but if you would like to hear it, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, that will take you to this recording. So let me say 73 for the moment, and if I come up to you, you can rejoin me. This is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
Like that. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
There's somebody back in there. Whoever that was, come back slowly, phonetically, with your call sign.
Call sign?
Almost had you there. I've been switching around trying to find the best copy. Why don't you give me about 10 seconds and tell me about your antenna system, and let me look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger.
And let me look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger.
Okay, I'm copying you about 1 dB above my noise level. So how do you copy me?
My noise level. So how do you copy me?
I've got you copied at a good 570.
Roger. Well, we're running a KW. I don't know what you're running, but we're running a KW. So it just goes to show you how inefficient the band is today. Roger.
Inefficient the band is today. Roger.
Roger that. I'm only running 75 watts.
Well, now let me ask you, why are you running 75 watts? Why aren't you running the full 100 watts?
Let me ask you, why are you running 75 watts? Why aren't you running the full 100 watts?
I like to be a bit conservative and save the final antenna isn't perfectly resonant, and that extra 30 watts is going to give me only a half a dB, so I really didn't see it as important as saving the final. You can't buy it for.
Well, I'm sure you're right and all, but I'm only copying you at a half a dB over the PA SDR noise level. So if it's only half a dB, then you give me a full dB over the SDR noise level. Something like that.
Over the SDR noise level. Something like that.
Well, I just cranked it up to the full 100 watts. It looks like it's showing me about 95 on peak. So is that any better?
Yes, sir. If you've got a pretty good copy on me and you would be interested, we could go ahead with the setup procedure. It starts with me checking your call sign again one more time, please.
Starts with me checking your call sign again one more time, please.
Kilo Alpha 3, Juliet.
Kilo Alpha 3, Juliet, something, Juliet?
Kilo Alpha 3, Juliet, something, Juliet?
India.
Juliet India Julia, is that a Roger?
Juliet India Julia, is that a Roger?
Roger.
Roger, and what's the name there?
Roger, and what's the name there?
Name here is Ron, Romeo, Oscar, November.
Roger, Ron, and what's your location?
Roger, Ron, and what's your location?
Gainesville, Georgia, about 75 miles north of Atlanta.
That's wild. I'm up in New York, or actually I'm in Pennsylvania. I've got a better copy on you in Pennsylvania than I do on my Georgia SDR, Roger.
On you in Pennsylvania than I do on my Georgia SDR, Roger.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, you must be just a little too close to the Georgia SDR, or further away or something. It's just at that awkward place where you're louder in Pennsylvania than you are in Georgia. Anyway, Ron, what radio are you running today?
Yeah, than you are in Georgia. Anyway, Ron, what radio are you running today?
I'm running a 538
A 538, is that a Roger?
538, is that a Roger?
Roger, you're actually coming up. 659, haven't responded.
Roger, Ron is, how old is that radio?
Roger, Ron is, how old is that radio?
About 20 years old.
Yes, sir. Does it have a compressor inboard?
Yes, sir. Does it have a compressor inboard?
Well, compressor or processor, whichever one. You know, different manufacturers call it the same thing, compressor, processor. If it has one on board, we want it on and set to 3 out of 10 or 30 out of 100. Just barely in there, about a third of its capability, Roger.
Just barely in there, about a third of its capability, Roger.
Roger that. I just set it for 30% out of 100.
Yes, sir. That's excellent. Now, move to your ALC meter with mic gain in hand. And as you say the word audio, stretching out the first part of that word audio, adjust your mic gain until your ALC meter is running 2/3, Roger.
Gain until your ALC meter is running 2/3, Roger.
Well, I don't have an ALC meter. I merely have a blinking ALC light. Light is currently 100%, and the ALC light average of 1.
Couldn't copy much of that. Try that setting again on your ALC. Don't stress it. Just say the word like you would say any other word in a QSO audio, and adjust your mic gain for 2/3 on your ALC meter.
And adjust your mic gain for 2/3 on your ALC meter.
I don't have an ALC meter on this particular rig, but with the light gain at 100, it's barely lights up the ALC.
Okay, so what ALC device do you have? Do you have a light or something like that?
ALC device do you have? Do you have a light or something like that?
It has a flashing LED that's been drawn on board
Try that one more time.
Try that one more time.
I think it has a flashing LED that shows up when that ALC is triggered.
Okay, as you say the word audio, bring it up to where the light is constant, and then bring your mic gain down just a little bit, just below the turn-on point for your light. Roger, Roger?
Just below the turn-on point for your light. Roger, Roger?
And that's again as you say the word audio.
again as you say the word audio.
Double bubble.
You guys doubled.
I don't think I said anything. Not recently, anyway. I was listening.
I don't think I said anything recently, anyway. I was listening. 30 seconds ago. It's okay.
Roger. Things are so marginal, it's hard to say who's doing what, when, and where, and why. Ronnie, you got a copy, buddy?
Ronnie, you got a copy, buddy?
Gosh, I tell you what, why don't you give me about 10 seconds on your antenna again and let me run around and see if I have some conditions that have changed and one of the other SDRs might be hotter, Roger?
Conditions that have changed and one of the other SDRs might be hotter, Roger?
Yeah, the conditions are going to change from a moment, and another QSO from another part of the country came in, and then they disappeared, and you came back.
Yes, sir. Now I've got you on my Virginia SDR. Every SDR but the Georgia SDR. Anyway, so you've got your audio modulation adjusted to where it's just below flashing the light constantly as you say the word audio. Is that correct?
Below flashing the light constantly as you say the word audio. Is that correct?
It's actually lighting now when I say audio.
I missed the first part of that line. Try the first part of that word, the line.
First part of that word, try the first part of that word, the line.
Audio. That's flashing just at the voice speed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, see, the thing about it is the word audio has been specially chosen. Matter of fact, I've got a little piece on that. It's called Audio Set Level, and let me bring it up here on my trusty iPad. And now time for another thrilling edition of Adventures in Radioland. This segment, the Human Test Tone Generator. You know, I spent months looking for just that right word to utter, to use as a human test tone reference, to set a mic level perfectly. And as pure luck would have it, after months of relentless testing, it turned out that the perfect word to utter from a human mouth to set an acoustic to electronic translational reference turned out to be the word audio, at least the first part of that word, the ah sound. When spoken into a microphone, will produce multiple frequency content from 25 cycles up to 2 kC, with first-order harmonics up to 4 kC. Plenty of multi-frequency content to use as a quasi-pink noise human test tone generator to set a mic level perfectly. So tell me how stupid I sound. Audio? And if you have any doubts, just look at that on your spectrum analyzer. Audio? And back to you.
Audio, and back to you.
That's interesting. I have heard that elsewhere, that the ah is a good average tone, like because it doesn't have explosives, and give a lot of energy very briefly.
Yes, sir. That's correct, Ron. And I'm also looking for a procedure that I can use the word audio as a frequency content EQ adjustment, because the difference between the ah and the o are two different frequencies. Ah-o, and you know, if one were to have a equalizer looking at that, being able to turn the bottom end up if the O were lighter than the R, it just might be that you could set your equalization level that way. I am working on that. I've not really finished with that.
I'm working on that. I've not really finished with that.
Anyway, Ron, you still have a coffee, sir?
Anyway, Ron, you still have a coffee, sir?
Somebody else jumped in and asked you a question, so I was waiting for them.
I missed the question. Somebody have a question? Go ahead.
I missed the question. Somebody have a question? Go ahead.
Well, Ron, let me say 73 to you, sir, down there in Georgia. I appreciate the comeback. I think you are sounding very good. I wish I had a little bit better coffee on you. Anyway, I'll be posting this up on YouTube in the next couple of, well, actually, by noon tomorrow. I should have this all posted. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, it'll take you to this recording. And it'll be cut number 1 in a series of 2,500 Qso-Vlog Aircheck recordings. And again, I'll have it uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow. Roger?
Again, I'll have it uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow. Roger?
Thanks so much. You're fading out, so I'm going to sign KA3JIJ. Wonderful chatting this afternoon. Look forward to talking to you another day. KA3JIJ clear.
Roger, Roger, Brown 73, sir. Have a good afternoon, beautiful weekend. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
November 4, Alpha Charlie Hotel.
Alpha Charlie Hotel. Come back with the call sign again slowly phonetically.
Call sign again slowly phonetically.
November 4, Alpha Charlie Hotel.
Roger, Roger, and the name there?
Roger, Roger, and the name there?
Name is HC, Hotel Charlie.
Roger, HC, and where are you located, sir?
Roger, HC, and where are you located, sir?
I am located high atop Bull Run Mountain in northern Virginia, about 30 miles west of Washington, D.C.
Roger, and what radio are you running today, HC?
Roger, and what radio are you running today, HC?
ICOM 7700.
Roger that. And that's a newer radio, right?
Roger that. Yeah, that's a newer radio, right?
See, I've had it 12 years. It's fairly new, yeah.
Yes, sir. It sounds really good. Why don't you tell me about your antenna system? Let me listen to you for a minute.
Why don't you tell me about your antenna system? Let me listen to you for a minute.
Okay. I'm using right now. Where am I? I'm using a ZS6BKW, feeding it with, according to the meter here, it's 3356. Actually, I'm pushing 200 watts, but it loafs along at about 30 or 50 watts. And that's about all I can do with it. I do have a power amp, but it's sitting there unplugged. I'm not going to use it. Back to you.
Roger, Roger. Well, you're doing pretty good there. I'm copying you up in Pennsylvania at about 10 over, so you've got a pretty good signal. Your audio sounds pretty good. It looks like it's about 3 dB dynamic range. Could use a little more top. The question would be, are you sure you're in the top bandpass that radio is capable of being? Like a normal current radio would be capable of 100 to 2900. Do you know what the bandpass of that radio is?
100 to 2900. Do you know what the bandpass of that radio is?
That I'm not sure. I think it went up to 3200. I am not really sure. I've worked on it quite a bit, and I think I've got it tweaked fairly well.
Roger, but see if what we want to do is try to make that 100 to 2900, because if we get a little wider than 2900, we have people coming look for us with pitchforks, and if we get lower than that, we're starting to roll off our top end, which we don't want to do. So that's why it's important to be in that 100 to 2900 mode. That will give that transmitter the best capability of operational top-end frequency response, which is where all of the intelligibility is, Roger.
Frequency response, which is where all of the intelligibility is, Roger.
Roger that. I will work on that. Got to dig into the book to find that stuff. right now my bandwidth is set for 3 kW or 3K, but I'm not doing anything. Not sure where it is.
Yes, so that's pretty close. We can proceed on. If you have do you have an equalization page?
Yes, we can proceed on. If you have do you have an equalization page?
Somewhere down here in the settings, standby. I can't find it today. Hold on. It's not hidden there. It's one of these silly touch screen things around the edge of it. If you can hear me, and if I sound halfway decent, can I go?
Yes, sir. I could give you a note for that. Just crank in a couple of clicks of additional top-end EQ from where you are. 2 clicks additional treble EQ from where you are, Roger.
2 clicks additional treble EQ from where you are, Roger.
Roger, I can do that. How's the bass on it?
The bass is excellent. I wouldn't change that. It's just perfect. Just need a little more intelligibility, because there's a lot of things that happen to the top end of our audio spectrum along the way from here to there. Mother Nature sometimes bends half the signal one place and the other half somewhere else, and sometimes then when they coincide back on Earth at the receive point, they might be slightly out of phase, and the first part to cancel in your audio spectrum is the top end, Roger.
Cancel in your audio spectrum is the top end, Roger.
Roger that. How about if I back up another 4 inches here? How's that?
That's good. I think that would do it. I can just almost hear a little background, but I don't. So I would run it just like that. You sound really good.
But I don't. So I would run it just like that. You sound really good.
Okay, I think I'll leave it where I am. I do have a boom mic, and now I'm about 9 to 10 inches away from the microphone and trying to elocute clearly. I hope that works.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, though, I still would prefer a couple of clicks of top-end EQ, and there's nothing that, and the magic frequency, I don't know what kind of equalizer you have, but the magic frequency for treble EQ is 2.7 kilohertz. If you have an adjustable EQ, 2.7 kilohertz, width of 4, probably plus 3 from where you are, plus 2 or 3 from where you are, Roger.
Probably plus 3 from where you are, plus 2 or 3 from where you are, Roger.
Okay, I will give that a try. Thank you very much there, John. Or Jim. Excuse me. Yeah, Jim.
Yes, sir. My pleasure, HC. We've spoken before, right?
My pleasure, HC. We've spoken before, right?
Maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, possibly.
Yes, sir. I think I recall the name. It was so unusual, and it coincided with the call sign a little bit there, Roger.
It coincided with the call sign a little bit there, Roger.
It sort of does, yeah, AYCH. My tag on the vehicle is AYCH also, but nothing to do with it. Anyway, it's been good talking to you, Jim, and very interesting listening to the people that do happen to come back to you, and I will keep listening. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, HC. Well, we're down now 6 years from when we started, and we're into the folks that can really use our help. All of the louder stations have checked through, and we've helped them along, and now we're down to the stations that are running with probably not too good antennas, because I've got a local antenna, and I've got 4 internet SDR receivers spread out in a grid across the eastern part of the United States. So if I get poor signals everywhere, somebody's not getting out, So I'm copying the mail from New York to Georgia. And if there's somebody's S1, they're not getting out. So it probably 2 to 1 has to do with a poor antenna system. And that's why I have been recommending a tuned dipole antenna situation. That's a very efficient antenna system. That's what we're using here, Roger.
A very efficient antenna system. here, Roger.
Roger. So far, I've had a lot of good luck with this ZS6BKW. Started out with G5RV and stretched it out a little bit and pulled it down, yanked it around. But it's interesting to hear a lot of the people that are on the air. It sounds like they're talking through a soda straw. You can barely hear them. I don't know what they're using, but it's kind of frustrating knowing that there are things you can do better than that. That bothers me a little bit too, but I try to help if I can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you know, the thing is, I guess, that folks can't really hear themselves very clearly. Even if they could hear themselves, hearing themselves simultaneously as they spoke would still not necessarily solve the problem. Even if they could hear themselves delayed, might not help the problem because of knowing how to adjust the equalizer in certain ways to help the the pattern be very articulated. Usually, it just involves treble EQ. I don't really push the bottom end that much because, as I said before, if you lose the top end and you have a heavy bottom end, you become Mr. Mumbles because you've ceased to have a balanced signal. So if you don't have a bunch of bottom end and you lose some of the top, you're still in good shape, Roger.
Bottom end and you lose some of the top, you're still in good shape, Roger.
Roger. Okay, Jim, I'm going to have to take off here. I appreciate it. I'm going to keep listening, but good luck on getting some more people on there. N4ACH 73.
Roger, HC, thanks for dropping by. We'll have this uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow. So if you want to hear your beautiful signal, it does really sound good. Could use just a tad of top additional, but go to YouTube, do the call letter search. KC9VKV followed by the word logbook will take you to this recording, and again we'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of 26, 25, I don't know, somewhere 100 Qso-Vlog Aircheck recordings. 73, sir. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
This is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. We record now live till 5, so if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
5, so if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
And now that we have a little lull in the in the signal department, it'll be time for another thrilling edition of Adventures in Radioland. This segment, Antennas That Work. Well, after 6 years and over 2,600 Qso-Vlog setups and recordings, we've worked our way down to those that can really use our help, folks that are running with bad antennas. That is precisely why many months ago, in addition to my local receiver, I started using 4 geographically chosen Internet SDR receivers. So I know that when my local receiver and all 4 of my SDR receivers are receiving a signal poorly, there are probably antenna issues involved. Because I believe a 100-watt transmitter operating generally in the eastern part of the United States should show up at least as a S5 to S9 somewhere. If you're an S1 everywhere, you're not getting out. Let me repeat that. If you're an S1 everywhere, you're not getting out. So while I can technically set up your transmitter for optimal performance, if you're operating with a poor antenna, you will not be getting out well. And radio antenna tuners did not really solve the problem, they just mask the problem so the radio will operate correctly. A bad antenna is still a bad antenna. So now you're on the air with a bad antenna. But the real name of the game is ERP over ADI. How well do you bring your effective radiated power over your area of dominant influence? which is just a way of asking the question, how well are you getting out into the area you wish to be heard? Now, you can claim poor performance on bad propagation till the cows come home, but if you're an S1 everywhere, you're not getting out. I propose a change in your life, a great answer to an amateur's worst problem. It is the antenna we've been using over the past 6 years here on Friday afternoons on our Qso-Vlog network. It is a resonant-tuned, no SWR, specifically oriented dipole antenna. Yes, it's a dipole antenna, but a resonant-tuned dipole antenna. LICMA, no antenna tuner. Because they are tuned, they have no SWR to deal with. You are straight out of your radio, fire to the wire. No conversion loss antenna tuner to deal with. You are max fire to the wire. Well, so if you want to get the best out of your radio and get yourself on the air with a resonant-tuned, no SWR, specially oriented dipole antenna, it would be one of the greatest gifts you could give your station operation. And no, we don't sell them, but you can Google plans for free, and they're easy to build. I hope this talk about resonant-tuned, no SWR specifically oriented dipole antennas will at least stir up some interest in building new, more efficient antennas. Well, here you go. So let's move along. This is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
VLogNet. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
And we're going to try one more time, then we're going fishing. This is KC9VKV. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
And so this is KC9VKV. If you have participated in this afternoon's Qso-Vlog net and would like to hear your audio, if you go to YouTube, do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook. We'll have this uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow, and it'll be cut number 1 in a series of 2,600 Qso-Vlog Aircheck recordings. So with that said, we'll be returning the frequency back to normal amateur radio use. This is KC9VKV, clear.